Hi everyone, it's Erica and welcome back to my kitchen. I'm sorry I missed y'all last week, but hey, life gets crazy and I sometimes don't have time to make these videos. But this week I'm ready to go with a great entree for you. It is a savory butternut squash soup. I hope you like. It's perfect for today because we've got ourselves another bleak and dreary and damp day here in New England. So, perfect day for soup. We start off with a butternut squash, halved and seeded. And we're going to take this, we're going to smear it full of butter. I like butter. Don't be afraid of butter, it's good stuff. So we're going to take it and we're just going to spread it all over. And we're going to put some in a nice big dollop in the cavity as well. And all in all, it's not that much really. It's about 2 tablespoons of butter, maybe 3 that I'm using here for the whole dish. As you can see, I didn't do the greatest job having my squash here. I got one end that's way thicker than the other, but that's okay. It'll just take a little bit longer to cook is all. So, now that we've got that done, and I'm going to get a little dirty here and smear it all in with my hands. Fun, fun. Play with your food. It's more fun. And then once that's done, we've got a little bit of garlic powder. I'm going to sprinkle that on there. And then, since remember I didn't have bacon when I came up with this recipe, we're going to use salami. And you don't want to use that big soft salami with peppercorns in it. You want to get a nice hard salami or a dry, semi-dry cured Genoa. And we're going to stuff some in the cavities. And we're going to layer it all on the top. And now we're going to roast all of this in a 350 to 400 degree oven, depending on how much time you have. If you're in a rush, put it at the higher temp. But you definitely want to keep an eye on it because there is butter in here. It might splatter a little bit. I'm going to just do that. And that's it. Put it on our baking sheet and we're going to pop this in the oven. It's going to take about half hour to 45 minutes for this to cook. In my case, because this one's much smaller, this will probably take a half an hour. This one will probably take 45 minutes. We're going to let that roast. While that's going, the salami is going to get crispy and delicious. And you'll know your squash is done. You'll be able to pierce it easily with a fork. So I'm going to pop these babies in the oven and we'll be back when they're done. Stay tuned. Okay, we're back. Our squash is nicely baked. And as I promised, that salami has gotten nice and brown and crispy around the edges. It's going to be delicious in this soup. So what we want to do first is remove these salami slices. We're going to set these to the side for now. But we do want to get them out of there. Then we want to take any excess butter that's in our squash. I'm going to pour it in the saucepan, and here I have about one medium to small onion, rough chopped. You don't have to go crazy with the chopping because we're going to hit it with an immersion blender later. So now this is very hot, but I do want to pour off that butter that's in the cavity here. So very carefully, I'm just going to drop that in. And we're going to let this cool a little bit. While that's cooling, we're going to get these onions going and get them browning. And then in the interim, I'm also going to chop up our salami that we set aside into bits. And we're going to reserve some of the crispy parts later to put as a garnish on the soup. And this again, this is also going to go in the soup and get hit with the immersion blender, so you don't have to go too crazy with it as far as chopping it up. But again, set some of those crispy bits off to the side because they do look very nice floating on the top of the soup later when you serve it. Okay. Alright. So that's almost done. Looking good. We're going to push off some of these extra crispy bits. Okay. Get these moving around to soften. We'll just let those go and and when they're ready, I'll be right back to show you the next steps, so stay tuned. Okay, so our onions are nice and softened. They're starting to caramelize a little bit. It's time to add in our roasted squash. As you can see, I've used a fork to kind of mash it up in the shell, make it a little bit easier for us to get it into the pan without getting all the skins, I hope. So we're just going to scoop it in. Nice and roasted and soft, so it comes out fairly easy. You can always come back in and give it a good scrape with a fork or a spoon. I prefer a fork. Gives me a little more control. There's one side. Ooh, if this was the bigger side, it's still a little hot. But we'll get it all in there one way or another. Okay. Give that one last little scrape. I just love butternut squash. And now this is seasoned really simple. No cinnamon or anything like that, and we're going for an entree, not dessert. So I think the flavors of butternut squash are best when you keep the seasoning simple. Butter, salt is really all you need. And I'm going to add a little salt right now. And then we're also going to add a little bit of chicken stock, about a cup, maybe two, depending on how meaty your squash was and how thick or thin you want your soup. We're also going to put back in those salami slices that we had. Not all of them, because remember we're saving some for garnish. But the roasted salami is going to add a nice smoky flavor. And then finally, dun, 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 the ingredient of honor, the Philadelphia cooking cream. I'm using original flavor for this. You can certainly use savory garlic if you want to impart a garlicky flavor to your soup. Santa Fe, I wouldn't go far with this one. It's not quite what we're looking for. And we're going to put a few tablespoons of that, make it nice and creamy. And then we're going to take our fork, give it a quick stir. See if we need to add any more liquid. I think we're going to be okay. But we can always add it later. And now I'm going to hit this with the immersion blender. One of my favorite kitchen tools. Okay, definitely need more chicken stock. Okay. Keep going with that until everything's nice and blended and smooth. Taste. So good. A little bit of salt maybe. A little thick. The last of the chicken stock. And I think we have it. Okay, one last taste. Perfect. Delicious and savory. I'm going to plate this up in a nice bowl, pretty it up, and we'll be right back. Stay tuned. And there you have it, a delicious butternut squash and roasted salami soup. Sure to take the chill out of the coldest, dampest spring day New England can dish out. Enjoy.